Hi everyone, it's Craig McGill here again. Thanks for listening to this, and if you're listening to this, hopefully you were at the recent social media introduction breakfast in Falkirk. Thank you all for attending that, and as promised, here's the audio of the presentation complete with slides and some extra information based on the feedback from the day. So with that in mind, let's kick off, and that's just a lovely generic introduction slide with all my contact details if you need to get a hold of me. But one thing to have a little look at there is the web address. Obviously it's www.contently-managed.com. But instead of putting the whole web bit at the start, http://www, I've just got contently-managed.com. And I've made the first word of each a capital letter as well. Now, you instantly know from looking at that by the .com, that tells you it's a web address. And if you ask me, I think that looks a lot better than the whole http www.palaver. So that might be something to think about. If you've got your own business, then why not see how the website address looks? If you take the whole palaver off at the start and you cap up each word. Again, it's something that can look a bit more professional, a bit sharper, and to an extent a little bit different as well. It makes it stand out. And obviously, feel free to get in contact with me through any of those channels. Always happy to hear from people. But let's kick on, shall we? As we said before, what is social media? This image from Brian Solis, seen as one of the main web social media guys in the States, shows hundreds of platforms, from WordPress, LinkedIn, YouTube, Skype, Flickr, the list goes on, and it comes back to this very basic point: what is social media? And in all honesty, it's any digital platform where customers and company can engage with each other, or customers can engage with other customers. It could be a forum where people are interacting directly without talking to the brand, but to an extent, it's conversational media. It's any platform where people are chatting and chatting away pretty much. And yes, to an extent, if you wanted to be pedantic, you could say a telephone is social media because it's now a digital channel and it's people engaging with each other. But we'll leave the telephone out of this if you don't mind. Here's the first of the news slides. This breaks down to an extent. This is for blogs, but it shows. This is for blogs in the business to consumer market, believe it or not. But it shows you how much, there's pretty much something there for everybody. There's PR, there's marketing, there's advertising, there's travel trade, there's transport, retail, property and construction, energy, environment, businesses, architecture, design. There's a lot there in those creative industries. Here's another more mainstream one showing a complete breakdown for the average Joe Punter. And again, there's a lot there: entertainment, fashion, food, drink, hobbies, lifestyle, sport, the lot. Again, this is just to show this idea of, there's plenty there online for everybody. There is something for everyone, as I said at the talk. The only example I can think that it wouldn't be most apt would perhaps be funeral homes. But apart from that, most people are interested in something someone else is interested in. There's over 6 billion people on the planet. We're all unique, but very many of us have similar interests, whether it be the books you read, the TV you watch, the job you have, the interests you have, your hobbies. People want to talk about their hobbies and their interests, and it may be that they perhaps don't have anybody nearby that has the same hobby or interest, but online you can find people with a similar interest. So this is a great way of engaging, and some stats there to prove, to back this whole thing up. The average UK person spends 55 minutes a day on Facebook. Now, bear in mind, that won't necessarily all be on just, on a computer. That could be on their mobile phone, could be on just a small handheld computer device that isn't a phone, can be an iPad type device. But that's a lot of time, spent on Facebook. The average UK tweeter sends 30 tweets a day. Smartphone owners and digital savvy audience have more disposable income. If you're a company, you want people with income, so perfect. And another thing that I just learned the other day there, people are now twice as likely to leave a child as they are their mobile phone. A little survey was done that came out over the weekend that shows while people will walk away from a table that has other adults at it or children at it, they will rarely walk more than 10 paces without going back for their mobile phone. People now consider it an extension to them. It's more than an extension if they can't, if they need to be with it that much all the time. But why do they want it with them all the time? Same reason people are online: for information, for buzz, for sales and for discounts, and we'll talk about this in a second again. But another reason to use social media, this is purely the Facebook stat, nearly 28,000 people aged 18 or over living in Falkirk or nearby, and that's a hell of a market. As I said at the speech, if there's anyone out there who couldn't do with another 28,000 customers, let me know, because I want to work for that person. They're obviously doing something really, really right. But this is it. I mean, people are online, and it can be a way of letting people see you when you're not necessarily there. Someone who may want your services may look at your website at 2 in the morning. Now, you're in your bed at 2 in the morning, but your website's still there working for you. So similarly, have a social media presence that does the work for you while you're doing other things. Now, I spoke there about why people are online, and it breaks down fairly simple. It's for information, either at a global level or a local level. Not necessarily news in terms of, the Falkirk Herald or the Scotsman Daily Record. It may be what your friend Jeannie's been up to, what's John been up to. Has one of their kids scored a goal at the weekend? Did someone make their first communion? Did someone go to a wedding? There's all these things, and that's all information. Or it can be for information about a product. What's the best whiskey? What's the best vodka? What's happening at the weekend? Similarly, for shopping, for discounts, we'll speak about Groupon later, but people want discounts, they'll use Google to try and find them. Similarly, they'll go online for entertainment. That can be playing a game, or again, blethering with their pals. But every one of these has this thing in common. It's people wanting. They want information, they want discounts, they want entertainment, they want not to be bored. They're wanting something new, that they're on the hunt for this, that great curiosity of mankind. And these were the jokey slides, as we pointed out. People will tell you that you need lovely laptops and iPads and Android phones, you need lots of cash to do it, and the truth is, that's absolute nonsense. A very basic but capable social media campaign can be done by yourself for an hour a day, or you can hire someone to do it for an hour a day. Depending what you want to do, it can be done for less than an hour a day. It can be done more. It just comes down to your goals and your aims. But anyone who says they need the fanciest of kit and lots of cash is talking absolute nonsense. What you need is heart, and what you need is passion. And I'm sure anyone who was at the presentation is glad I haven't changed that picture to one of the more dodgy ones, even though 2 people did ask me to, but I won't name them to spare their blushes. But the point being, this is about being keen about this. It's about having excitement. I mean, most people who were at the talk were in their own businesses, had set themselves up, and that's that thing that got you excited about just taking that step and setting up your own business, to say to the world, no, I'm good at this and I'm better at this than anyone else, and that's why I'm doing it. That's what you want to project out there. Your keenness, your enthusiasm, your passion. And obviously, that's not easy day to day when you're dealing with tax returns, or perhaps money customers, or problems with staff, or problems with business. But don't let it get you down, because as much as social media is for your customers, it can also be for you. It can remind you why you love this, why you love your business so much, why you love what you do. And that's a great thing to take away from it. But back to this question of where to be. I mean, we could be here all day and then some if we were to go through all of these platforms, and I'm sure most of you don't have all day, though I appreciate it if you've just said yes I do and I'll hang about, Craig. We'll try and keep this down to about an hour, because as I say, there are extra slides. You go where the crowds are. This is common sense. If you've got all day to go onto every platform, feel free. But for where most businesses are starting out in 2011, you go where the crowds are. You should think about Facebook. 500 million and a couple, of people. We've already seen how many use it in the Falkirk area alone. Twitter, 200 million and a lot. Not as many in the Falkirk area. It seems to be I jokingly say it's the last holdout, but as we saw using the Twitter stats, there seems to be about 1,000 Twitter users, which isn't a lot, but there may be more. They just don't say they're from Falkirk. But also bear in mind, that's a very passionate, very vocal 1,000 people. And again, I'll happily take 1,000 extra customers day in, day out. You want to be on the web. This includes having a blog because it makes it easy to update your site. And everyone on all the digitals, everyone who's on the web, has a website. I mean, that's a bit of a duh. YouTube, 300 million users. LinkedIn, 100 million users. You go on these places, if it's appropriate to your business, the odds are people are going to see it, and you're going to be speaking to them, and we're going to tell you how to speak to them. So that constitutes a basic web presence in 2011. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, a website with a blog, and for the love of whatever religious being you have, or if you don't have one, for the love of a good man or woman, make sure that you have contact details. It's all very well being in all these places, but make sure people can reach you by phone, by email, by communication channels that you follow up on, because people will get in touch with you with questions and want to buy things or know things about your service, and if they can't reach you, well, you're potentially losing sales there, and also you kind of taking away a big main reason for all of this, in a business. And what they're all good for. Twitter's good for quick blethers. Facebook's good for bigger blethers. Blogs are great for detail. LinkedIn's great for sharing business knowledge. And YouTube, whether it be YouTube is great for video. There are other channels as well. Vimeo is very popular, and it is slightly better high definition, but again, YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world. It makes more sense to be there for a lot of people. And talking of YouTube, there's the first of another freebie for you. That if you click that, well, you can't click that link, apologies, but if you type that YouTube address in, that's at the top, that will take you to a 42-minute video I did at the start of the year. Now again, we're saying video, but it's very much a cheat. It's like this, it's just a few slides and chat by your favourite social media Glaswegian. So again, it covers a lot of the similar points to here. It may cover some different things as well. If you've got the time, feel free to go and have a watch/listen. You may get something else from it. You may not, but it's an example of using YouTube to share information and details. But of course, one question worth asking yourself and remembering, if your customers aren't there, should you be? And, is it worth spending, a couple hours getting this all set up, then the ongoing time investment or the ongoing financial investment if you hire someone to do it, should you be doing it? And the basic question there is, first of all, ask yourself how people can find out about you or do find out about you. And the truth of the matter is word of mouth. Now that would normally be you speaking in the pub or the shop to someone going, do you know a plumber? Do you know a cleaner? Do you know an accountant? Do you know someone who does gardening? Do you know someone who does bathrooms? For example, at the moment, just now, I'm on the hunt for someone who does bathrooms, I'm on the hunt for someone who does fences, and I'm on the hunt for someone who does paving for outside my house. And the way I'm finding out about these people is I'm asking my friends. But I'm not just asking my friends by going up to their ears. I'm also asking online. I'm asking via Google. I'm asking via Facebook. I'm asking via Twitter. And if I was looking for an accountant or so on, I'd also be asking via LinkedIn. And this is the point. People use Google and Facebook and so on now to find information out. And you want to make sure people can find you. Make life easy for yourself. And, on Twitter, people use the likes of Twellohood, which is the one on the left, and WeFollow.com, which is the one on the right. To find people of similar interests, to find people geographically. You might just be able to make it there. In Scotland, there are 44,000 people on Twitter. And that's fantastic. I mean, if you've got a business that isn't tied to necessarily being Falkirk-centric, that's 44,000 people easily within your postman's reach. Well, not your own postman, but you know what I mean. And that's great. That's a great, easy way of reaching out and finding people. And how is this all done? It's done by words. That's a bit of a simplification. It's done by good words. And it's done by good videos. And how do you make a good word or a good video? You be interesting. This is the best referral you will ever get. It comes back to what we were just saying about how people look for things. People spread links. Google works by seeing what people are linking to and passing about. Twitter and so on and Facebook work the same way by seeing what people are passing about. And for that, it needs to be good, interesting stuff. And that's because that's how it's found. It's Google and it's Facebook. But what is it all about? It's about being social. Obviously the giveaway there's in the title that it's social media. But these are two things. Let's look at social first of all. It's like being in a pub or at a party or a conference. It's about engaging with people. It's not about talking about yourself. You go to a party and you just go, I do this, me. You get fed up very quickly if you're speaking to someone and that's all they say. And you get sick of the sound of your own voice if you're just going me. It's about talking to people, engaging with people. It's almost like the old Billy Connolly joke of, do you have sex with someone or do you make love to someone? He always says it sounds like more fun if you make love with someone instead of to. And social media is like that to an extent. I wouldn't say it can be exactly as much fun, but it can still be quite good. But it is about this, it's with people. It's engaging with them if they have problems. It's helping them out. It's offering free advice to make their life easier. It's dealing with complaints you may receive to make people's lives easier. And it's building a loyal following. It's people following with you as you grow your business. It's people following with you as you put your new sales offers out there. And they spread that out to their networks and so on and so on. And that's what it's about. It's about being with people. But it's also media. By the very fact of putting something online digitally, it's media. And this is great to an extent because it means you don't need to wait on the Sun or the Falkirk Herald to do something for you. You might have something that you think's really interesting, but the Falkirk Herald only give it 2 paragraphs, which is not much use to you. If you've got 300 words on the same topic, put it on your website, put it on your blog. You build your readership, you engage with them. If you get bad press, use social media to sort it. If you've been on Watchdog or something, you can go online and go, listen, that customer that gave me a bad write-up on Watchdog, that's what they've said, but here's what 20 other customers have said, and we've been online for 3 years and we have all these followers, all these people who like our services. If we were that bad, do you think these people would still use us? It's a great way of doing it, and it's a great way of finding out what people want. You can spot trends. A much quoted example, perhaps not overly relevant, but still quite interesting, is that Google now works with the CDC in America, which is the Center for Disease and Control, because it was spotted about 10 years ago that Google was able to predict when there would be flu outbreaks or measles outbreaks because people were getting the symptoms at home, going online and going, cure for measles or cure for cold or cure for flu. And that was registering at Google before the doctors were knowing about it, before the medical experts knew about it. So now, the experts are getting real-time access to this information so they can go, hang on, say they're in Ohio, the plague is trending in Ohio. I wonder if there's been an outbreak of the plague. Obviously, that's a slightly exaggerated comparison, but it stands for the cold as well. If lots of people are suddenly searching for information on the cold somewhere, there's a reason for that, and normally it's because it's something that's affecting them. So you can find out what people want, and you can react quickly. You can react quicker than a newspaper. You can react quicker than a lot of the mass media. You can react quicker than a lot of marketing campaigns. You can find it out and react quickly all by yourself. And as we said, one of the great examples of this was Old Spice. There's that fine chap that we showed a bit in higher screen definition on the projector. But what they did was a fantastic video campaign. It got them 6 million hits in the first 24 hours. And what they did was... I seem to have been gazumped by the very wonderful Richard Patterson there, but no complaints. But what they did was, what Old Spice did was just very simply do videos that were entertaining and engaging and crafted towards the individual. However, Old Spice is rarely sold in Scotland, though people did buy it, and as we've just seen there, that was Richard Patterson, the master blender for White and Mackay. And his style there is not to go, hello, I'm Richard Patterson and I know tons about whiskey. He says, hello, how are you? He's having a conversation with the whiskey, but also with the person. And that's how you should treat this. It's about conversations and engaging. White and Mackay dipped their toes into this. They dipped their toes in a very big way, but they still dipped their toes into this by setting up a blog, by creating a couple of Twitter streams, by setting up a presence on YouTube and Facebook, and setting up, trying to have daily tweets so there's always a Twitter engagement, a couple of blog posts a week where possible, and podcasts. That's a fairly comprehensive social media footprint. You can't fault that. And does it work? Well, there's one video that Mr. Whiskey Fan was a video channel I set up just for fun, and we put this video on it. This was David Heyman appearing on an STV show, and we put that online. It's 8 minutes long and 68,000 views. You can't go wrong with that. That's great time. People give you their most precious thing when you get them online. They give you their time, and that's just a fantastic gift to get from people. And if you look there, there's a reason that video's been worded in the way it has. How to drink whiskey, how to drink blends, and you'll see down the side how to taste whiskey, how do you take yours, how to drink whiskies at the bottom as well. That's because lots of people go online and type how to fix a burst pipe, how to frame a picture, how to stuff a dead animal. Okay, maybe they don't do that one. At least I hope not. I hope they get a proper taxidermist for that. How to fix a broken computer, how to plan a romantic weekend, how to find the best hotel. How to is a very popular phrase online, and that's something to bear in mind when you're doing any online writing. But of course, does any of that 68,000 translate to sales? Perhaps not directly, but along with all those other video views and the blog engagement, that builds up, that's people spending their time with you, building an affinity and a loyalty with you, and the more time is spent with you, the more connected people feel, and as marketeers know, the longer that connection lasts, the more likely people are to buy when they need your product. And, White and Mackay accept that people don't always need a bottle of whiskey every day, but they hope that through all of their engagement, that when people do need a bottle of whiskey, they go, White and Mackay, I'll go and get one of their bottles. And another example that's worked for the White and Mackay team is Shackleton's whiskey. This was whiskey, as the BBC story says, that was under the ice for nearly 100 years. And that's fine. Ernest Shackleton went away with crates of whiskey, left it there. He came back, the whiskey didn't. And now, this started life as a blog post. What had basically happened was White and Mackay were looking for content for their blog, and this was a story that was known in White and Mackay. It had a couple of bits of press coverage in 2006, 3 or 4 pieces if it was lucky. So I thought, yeah, we'll do this just as a blog post. So it goes up as a blog post, it becomes a podcast, and then it started to pick up a bit of steam. Other whiskey bloggers who had been told about the blog site went and saw it. They spotted the tweets as well. This activity was all spotted by the Scotland on Sunday, who obviously put it in the newspaper. That was spotted by the Daily Telegraph, and that was spotted by the BBC, and it went everywhere. I mean, it truly went global. And over the years, there was tens of thousands of tweets about this, hundreds of blog posts, hundreds of news articles. And because of this ongoing demand, fueled by people online talking about it or getting in touch and saying, hi, can we, learn more about this whiskey, the decision was made to replicate it. And that was released this year as a limited run and has brought in around £5 million in sales, or is expected to have by the end of the year. And a chunk of that's going to a charity as well, so it's good news for everyone. Now, this is one of these things where if I was American, you'd be wondering about my accent for a start, but if I was American, I would probably be shouting about this from the rooftops as a social media win. And I think that's a bit of a cheat, because while social media did a lot here, social media didn't create the story. The whiskey was already in the ice. The story had already been put into the media once and had a little bit of a mini flurry of activity. But when this story came back in a social media age, what social media was able to do was find people that were interested in it, and they told their friends, and more people saw the story, and it kept the story alive because people kept getting in touch, wanting to find out more about it, wanting to know if they could buy it. And all of that showed, without a penny being spent on market surveys, that there was demand for this whiskey. And that's what happened. They said, right, we've seen there's been so much interest, it's a bit of a no-brainer to go for it, and let's go for it. And that's what they did. Another example is Illegal Jack's, an Edinburgh Mexican restaurant just at the bottom of Lothian Road. If you're ever in the area, feel free to pop in, ask for a chap called AC Muir and say you saw Illegal Jack's mentioned in a training presentation. It'll be tickled pink. Now, zero advertising budget, based in a tough area for restaurant survival. Most restaurants at that part last 18 months tops. 2 years on, Illegal Jack's has survived, and it's still, had zero advertising budget. The Scotsman newspaper refused to give it a review, which is tough, but there's not much he can do about it. And how's he done it then? He's engaged with the digital community. He put on free Wi-Fi in the restaurant. He said, right, what sort of events would you guys like? They said, we'd like to come in for gaming nights, would like to have meetups there. And he's like, carry on. But he's also just engaged with people in Edinburgh on Facebook, on Twitter, and I'll show you another restaurant shortly that's done something similar. And basically, he uses his website and his blog to update information, Facebook for announcements, and Twitter for chat. And that works. It brings people in when they have lunchtime promotions or free food giveaways. That's what he does to tell people. No need to take out expensive adverts. And it obviously, it works. The guy's still there. Similarly, BrewDog are a beer company based up in the northeast, just over 4 years old now, and when they set up, they couldn't sell a thing. Scots were just more interested in their cheap lager than some more expensive, quality, unique product. So what these guys did was they sent 50 crates of beer. Each of these crates as such had about 10 to 12 bottles, and they sent them to the highest beer bloggers, the people that were appearing in the front 2-3 pages of Google when you typed in beer bloggers. They sent them out, and here we are 4 years on, considerable turnover, and definitely a lot more staff than just 2 guys and a dog. Incidentally, the dog is still there and on the payroll, in case you were wondering. But they did this by engagement. They were creative, they were quirky, slightly rebellious. They were engaging and persistent. They said, hi, if you didn't like this beer, here's another one that you might like. Or you like that beer, that's great, try this. They said to people on certain websites, here, for one day only, have a huge 70% website discount off our beers. And the important thing being, they had an online store. People were able to read about them and instantly go, I want to buy that. And within a few clicks, had bought the beer. Which is the way to do it, because if you still expect people to read something online and then make a mental note of it, the next time I'm in Tesco's, I'll see if I can find that. Now, by the time they get to Tesco's, they're busy, they've got kids with them, they've perhaps not brought the wee sheet of paper with them, they forget to buy. You want to try and close that sale as quick as possible, and that's something online really allows you to do very, very quickly. Amazon One Click is just by far the best example of this. And here we go. Now let's have a look at how you actually do all of this. And the first thing that anyone setting up in business now should be doing is setting up Google Alerts. And if you don't know what Google Alerts is, go into Google and type in Google Alerts. Consider that the first lesson of today. And set things up for as much as you want, but your search term, if you've got a multi-name device like contently managed, put that in closed brackets so that it knows to look for the words contently and managed together. No need for you guys to do that though, but thanks for thinking of me. I do that already. But for your own business, is just one word, just put the one word in. What do you want Google to give you back? You can get options for just video, forums, web. Tell it you want everything, because you want to cover as much of the web, as much of the internet as possible. How often? You can set that up yourself, to be once a day, as it happens. Similarly with volume, do you want all results, some results? Pick what works best, but I think at the worst case scenario, you should be getting everything sent to you once a day. and that way you'll see what people are saying, and that's free. That's Google Alerts will cover most of the web, and that way you'll see if anyone's talking about you or your business. Fantastic, and it's free. Brilliant. And again, when you're engaging with people, end material with a question. Ask, what do you think, or did you see this, or did you like that? And that gives people a reason to reply to you. Always, people sometimes need that little push for the conversation. And also mention other people and let them know you've mentioned them. This is a great example of this by Alan Barr. Alan Barr was on Phil Adams' blog site, and off his own back, he's left a comment on Phil's blog, and he's then tweeted that he mentioned this. And the way he's crafted that is that everyone who follows Alan Barr will see that and go, oh, Alan's left a comment on this blog post. Lovely. Phil Adams will also see it because he's put the little @ sign in before Phil Adams, and Phil will go, oh, that's really good. I can see that Alan's talking to me. Alan's highlighted that to me, that he's put something on my blog site. That's a great way of just passing on a simple piece of information. And there's so many ways that can be used. And as we've said, it comes down to words, and for a minute here we'll get slightly techie, but we'll try not to do it too hard. The two things you must always, well, three if we're being quite honest, the three things you must always consider when it comes to going online is why you want to do it. What's your goals? Set your goals from the start. Is it engagement? Is it sales? Is it to have so many people talk about you? Is it to cause controversy? Know what you want from it, and then you'll plan your time accordingly. And also plan your material accordingly. If you want to sell, if you want people to buy things from you via online, make sure they can get your stuff online. It's a bit of common sense there. And also, the other thing to consider is who's going to do your social media activity. Is it going to be someone in your marketing team? Is it sales? Will it be yourself? Will it be the office junior? So, and what will be appropriate for them to say, what won't be appropriate. There's no harm in sometimes drawing up guidelines for people, what they can and can't say. The most simple and common guideline, well, there's two. The one used by the New York Times is summed up to their staff as, don't be an idiot. Whatever you're posting online, don't be an idiot. That's fair enough. Another very good one is to have, would you want your mum to read that? And that means, if this is a business, you wouldn't swear to your customers. You wouldn't be rude. You wouldn't be blasé. You would be professional. You'd be courteous. You would treat it seriously. That's not to say you can't have humour, but it's about tone, and how you would do it. So think of those things before you get near the keyboard. What's a win for you? Who's going to do it? Well, obviously this presentation covers a bit of how you're going to do it. And once you get to that how, the thing to realise is it comes down to words. Google's search engine robots and Bing's search engine robots and Yahoo's search engine robots all scour the web, and they take from words, text, normal text, and that's known as search engine optimization. So always make sure you have the right words. And the more important the word is to you in your business, have it higher up in anything you're writing online. But at the same time, be concise. And to an extent, here's an example. This is an old blog post from my site, and I really do need to give it an overhaul. So forgive me for that. But there is a blog entry, and if you see in that first paragraph, there's the word social media. There's also the word Scotland. And that's because I've got social media in twice, 3 times actually, and that's because I want Google to look at this and go, he's talking about social media in Scotland, and does that pay off? There is the Google results for social media Scotland. Sorry about the formatting there at the bottom to the logos, but I come up first. Craig McGill's up there as one of the top results, as is the very excellent Andrew Burnett. Again, Edinburgh-based chap, likes good beers, and also likes people who are using social media. If you're ever looking for some advice from someone on the East Coast, certainly drop Andrew an email and tell him I sent you, because he's a really, really sharp guy. There's another one for me, Craig McGill, social media dinners run by me. Autonomy, not me, I've done work with those guys, but that's and after that, Simon Wakeman is a chap based down south. But it's I use the word social media Scotland a lot, so that if people type it in, there's a chance they'll find me. Now, they may go to Andrew Burnett first. If they're looking for quotes for services, they may go to Andrew, and they may go to me. Who knows? But the point is, lots of people now don't go past that front page on Google, so you want to try and be there, or be as close as you can to it. And you can do all of this. I know sometimes, especially even with chatting here, you might be going, oh no, there's just too much to this. This is impossible. It's not. It can be done fairly simply. Remember, take it back to what we said at the start. You don't need fancy tools. There are tools out there that are free that will make life easy for you. But what you do want, if you've got a bit of passion, a bit of keenness, remember, you weren't born knowing how to ride a bike, how to drive a car, how to speak French, German, or any other language, You weren't born knowing how to chat up members of the opposite sex or the same sex. Most things you know now. You spent a little bit of time and you learned them. And this is the same. In fact, the beauty of social media is you're building on all your social interactions throughout life. So you're halfway there. All you're doing now is just applying a little bit of technical savvy to it. And it's not a lot. If you're doing a blog, here's a great piece of advice. Get WordPress installed on your blog, on your site for your blog, because as we'll see in a minute, it does a lot of the techie work for you and it makes life nice and simple. And commit to blogging regularly. This comes back to the idea of being media. If you're going to blog lots. And make sure people know you're blogging. But don't write War and Peace. As I've said before, find out your key business words, have them high up, like I was talking about Social Media Scotland. And leave comments on other blogs. That's a very handy tip. And again, some of this we'll come back to, but give people the option of your blog being sent out as an email. Ensure your blog can be seen in RSS readers. Set up an editorial calendar. That's just where you go, right, on Monday I'm going to talk about this, Tuesday this, Wednesday this, Thursday that, Friday something else. And that lets you see what days you've got nothing to talk about and go, right, I need something for Thursday, I need something for Tuesday. And yes, you can even have blogs on a Saturday and a Sunday. No one's stopping you. Get others to write in your blog, purely because if they're writing in your blog, they'll tell their friends that they're writing in your blog and bring their traffic over. Similarly, feel free to go and write on other people's blogs. Great bit of fun. Google Analytics is everyone's best friend. Again, simple to install, and if you use it, it can tell you what blog posts are popular, what aren't popular, who's visiting your site, how often they're visiting your site. Even better, it can also tell you how they're visiting your site. Are they using their mobile phone? Are they using an iPhone? Are they using an Android phone? Are they using an iPad? Are they using a desktop? What web browser do they use? There's a lot you can get told there, and the beauty of the analytics is you can dig deep. If you want really in-depth information about people, it's there. But if you just want surface figures like numbers of visitors and most popular posts, you can use it that way as well. And similar, because it's free, why shouldn't you use it? When it comes to Twitter, we've already pretty much discussed the rules of engagement, but have a good Twitter name. Use the likes of Hootsuite or TweetDeck instead of Twitter.com, and we'll come back to that in a moment and why you should. Use columns in Hootsuite and TweetDeck so that you can see more, and try to avoid going over 120 characters. This is because lots of people make, not fun, but they make the point that Twitter's good for 140 characters, and that's very true. But when someone gives you good information, you can, on a Twitter, you can retweet it. And that's what you want. You want people retweeting. And every time it's retweeted, it's going to have your Twitter name on it. So if you're 120 characters, it's easy for someone just to click retweet and off it goes. If it runs over 140 characters, because on Twitter your name can't be more than 20 characters, they're going to have to faff about, they're going to have to edit it. And that's a lot of work for people, and they don't want the hassle or sometimes don't have the time to do it. So you may not get retweeted. Again, just be concise and make life simple for other people. Very simple tips as well, just to remember, a Twitter name may not be a person's real name. And when you know the Twitter name, add the @ sign in the front so they see it. RT, as I just said, means retweets. And bear in mind as well, spread your tweets out during the day and night. See when people respond to you the most and go, right, that's when most of my audience is online. I'll time my tweets for then. Again, it's very simple to schedule your tweets and plan this. And similarly, if you're working with Californians or something, remember that 8 o'clock in the morning for you is not 8 o'clock in the morning for them. So if you want tweets to be seen, or you want to improve your chances of a tweet being seen, in a certain part of the world, make sure you're working to its time zone. Use hashtags. As we said on the day, there was hashtag FSMB for the breakfast. The recent elections had Scottish Parliament 11, SP11. SP4 has been used for the sitting of the Scottish Parliament, and super injunctions has been used to out the likes of Ryan Giggs and other people allegedly having, not allegedly having shenanigans, but who are claimed to have taken out super injunctions. So if you're in an event, hashtags are great, because while you can be following lots of people, a hashtag lets you see what everybody says about an event. And this is even better if you put an event on. Put on your posters or your media for the event a hashtag. For example, Tea in the Park's a great one. Hashtag TITP. You click on that and you see what everyone is saying at Tea in the Park. And that can be a great way of getting information. If a band's moved stages or if a band's moved times, that can be updated really quickly via a hashtag. And you go, oh, I better go and see My Chemical Romance or whoever it is you're thinking of seeing. Again, when it comes to tweets, I know a few people thought this was a good piece of information. 721 rule. Consider that for every 10 sentences you speak, or for every 10 tweets online, 7 should be of interest or help to someone else. 2 should be indirectly linked to what you do, and 1 can be an out and out blatant promotion. And that way people don't mind, when you give it buy my goods or hire me, because there's been 7 other tweets there that have been helpful to others and perhaps helpful to them. And similarly, we've already mentioned, use WeFollow, Twellohood and Follow Friday the hashtag to find new people, to find interesting people, and to find relevant people. And obviously, we've spoken about this, the length of characters. If you have a website that you want to share with people, they can be very long. So go to a website called bit.ly, and that will give you the option to shrink very long website addresses down to very, very small web addresses. It's a great thing. And this is an example of Hootsuite and Hootsuite columns. As you can see there, there's quite a bit of detail. If you go to the normal Twitter setup, that's what you get. One column and some information down the side. And if you like whiskey, I would certainly encourage you all to go and follow Jura Whiskey. But if you use Hootsuite, that's what you get in the same space. And this is an example for an Aberdeen restaurant called Musa. If you're ever up that part of the way, go in and ask for Dave the chef, and again say, saw you in a training presentation by Craig McGill, I hear your food's great, give me some of this great food. He'll ask you to pay, but the food's good anyway. And what Musa have here is they have a list of Aberdonians, and that's just people they've found out that are on Twitter and engage regularly in Twitter and are from Aberdeen. So they get a list of all the Aberdonians and their tweets, and what they do there is that lets them engage with people in their area. If something interesting comes up, and if you're into your politics, yes, that's Anne Begg, the MP at the top of that one. Similarly, they also have a column set up for Aberdeen. Now that means they'll get anything where the word Aberdeen comes in, and there's more than one Aberdeen in the world, but at the same time, most of the Aberdeens are about Aberdeen, Scotland. And that can be handy, again, just for learning what people are saying. They get some news that way that they can pass on. They might see people saying, oh, I'm coming to Aberdeen, or anyone know what the weather's like in Aberdeen, or there's one there, second from the top, Time Lord Teapot. That chap says he's moving to Aberdeen in about 3 months. Now, that gives Musa 3 months to chat to this guy, to build a relationship, so that when he moves there, they can go, hiya, why don't you come in, try our food and drink? And if the guy likes it, that's a repeat customer. And that's the sort of work you can do online with Twitter. They have a third column there for Aberdeen businesses, which they just use for standalone from to separate people, as in the Aberdonians, as you'll see in the far left. This is just a chance to chat and engage with anyone or any specific Aberdeen businesses. And again, it's used for pretty much the same reason. It's about building relationships, getting information that's useful to their audience and passing it on. Very rarely will they actually talk about food. But again, when they do, people appreciate it because the rest of the chat has been very helpful. And you say, compare and contrast. I mean, lots of information, not so much information. I know what I would rather use. In fact, I know what I do use. When it comes to YouTube, don't be overly long in videos. Now, I realise I've got a bit of a cheek saying that, as this is probably hitting the 45-minute mark, and I've already told you about a 42-minute video, but where you can, keep it short, keep it tight, keep it entertaining. Make sure your sound is good. Sound is often neglected in video, and it's an absolute tragedy because of it. If people leave comments, again, reply to them just as you would on a blog, just as you would on Twitter. And again, use YouTube to find relevant people. Leave comments with them. Engage. It's all about engaging. And there's no more advice than I can give. If you took one word away from this whole thing, it would be that. Engage. Facebook. Again, it's about engaging. Set up a page, not a group. We've had this discussion. Pages and groups are very similar, but pages offer you more versatility. So make sure you set up a page. Get 25 followers, whether they be friends, relatives. Go on to the FALKIRK Business LinkedIn group and say, hi, can people follow me please on Facebook? People will help you out. People are friendly. Go on Twitter and say, hi, can people follow me? Even be blatant and ask. It's not a problem. Post a couple of times a day, but don't go over the top. The hope you would have here, a healthy Facebook page, is one where there's as much posting by your fans as there is by yourself, if not more so. And again, keep it interesting. Don't just always post text. Post pictures, post video, post links. Post at times when it's relevant to your followers. Post as a page, not as you. That's an option you get when you look at your Facebook settings and your wee picture in the top right corner. It gives you the option to post as a page or the page you've set up. And make advantage of that. It allows you to separate the personal from the professional. And again, where possible, go and post on other Facebook pages. Let people know you're there. Engage as the page. And always remember, lots of people use Facebook as their one-stop shop for the web. Facebook users are 7 times more likely to view videos than any other type of user except for YouTube types. So bear that in mind. Give everything you can to Facebook. Because for the moment, and it won't be forever, but for the moment, it is the site that people use and stay at. Now, there's also LinkedIn, which slightly glibly is Facebook for business, but it's a very true description. And the advice there is very good. But I would say that I typed it, but complete your profile 100%. Give recommendations to lots of people. Join lots of groups, answer lots of questions. Use LinkedIn to show off how good you are. Or join relevant groups. There's a fantastic group for any FALKIRK business to be joining. And there's a fantastic thread that was well worth leaving a comment on. And it's a great thing to do. This is a great way of going in and seeing what people in your sector are talking about, people in your region. Then use linkedin.com/answers. This is a public relations one. I just grabbed off the top of my head, but it's a great way again of seeing what people are interested in, and it's a great way of you showing off what you're good at. And again, it's about making sure people remember you for when they need your service if they don't need you right away. And here's another slight freebie for you. How do you define social media success? I always say, know your goals before you set out. What do you want it to achieve for you? And here's a couple of answers for other people. So feel free to hit the pause button and have a look at them. And then you can unhit the pause button and hit it again to have a read of these. And the point being, you can make any success from social media that you want as long as you know what defines a success for you. Now this came up at the end of the presentation. We've spoken about RSS, and this seems like a good way of bringing it into the conversation. If you look, that's the Master Blender, Richard Patterson's this current Master Blender blog site, and if you have a look at it, you can find it via whiteandmackay.com. But if you have a look to the right hand side there's a bunch of little icons. The first one is an envelope, and when you click on that uses a free service called FeedBurner, and that sends the blog to you as an email, so you don't even have to come to the blog. The blog will come to you, and that can be a handy service. The one next to it, the little orange icon, is the RSS, and we'll come back to that in a second. The T and the F are obviously for Twitter and Facebook. The hands-on logo is for the Master Blender's voice, believe it or not, as a TomTom sat-nav guide. So if you need a Scottish voice on your TomTom, click on that link and it will tell you how to install it. And again, it's free. YouTube button takes you to the YouTube channel. That little purple one is an RSS feed for podcasts, and if you click on that, you'll get an RSS feed for the podcast. Pardon me, that was very rude. For the podcasts, and similarly, the last one, if you click on that, that will take you to the iTunes. If you use an iPod or an iPhone or an iPad, you know what that is. That takes you to iTunes and gives you the options of getting all the podcasts that way. But if we scoot back 6 icons to the orange one with the dot and the 2 bent lines, that's an RSS icon. And what RSS is really simple syndication. And what that does is, if you click on that and you've got an RSS reader, there are a couple. The most common one nowadays is Google Reader. It saves it to your RSS reader. And what that means is that instead of you going to the website, it pulls the information from the website for you. So again, it saves you a bit of time. Here's an example from the RSS reader I use, and we'll just chat quickly through this. It's called NetNewsWire. It's very, very useful, and as you can see from the top there, it's telling me that I've got about 3,500 articles unread. That doesn't fill me overly with concern, but the way this works is, on the left hand side, that's all the categories I've got set up of feeds. And if you look at the bottom, you'll see that it says 368 feeds. Now that's 368 websites. Now, I don't have time to go typing, 368 website addresses, or even have 368 website addresses as my favourites. I don't have time to go and look every day to see if they've been updated or not. But if I open this one program, as I say, I use NetNewsWire, others use Google Reader. Everyone has their own sort of preference, and it pulls it all in for me, and it can tell me, I can just look at that quickly, and if I'm thinking, right, I've got 10 minutes to kill, and it says there's 42 updates in the politics. I think I follow about 15 politics sites, so there's a bunch of updates I can go and look at. Or if I just want to see everything that's unread, I click on latest news at the top. You can see it there highlighted in blue, top left, and it shows me all my latest, the stuff there from STV Scotland, the stuff from games websites, there's stuff from PR professionals, there's stuff from marketing, and I don't need to read the articles. What I can just do is look down the headlines and go, right, I'm interested, not interested, interested, not interested, and if I am interested in one, I click on it, and then it appears where that big white box is. Now, that's just a huge time saver, and it's one of these things that it's unfairly branded as a little bit techy and complicated when it's no more difficult than email, but it's a great time saver. And again, it's one of those things where if you offer RSS on your site, it gives people a chance to be keeping in touch with you. If people can follow you by RSS and by email as well as the blog and the Twitter, you're just making sure that they don't miss any messages from you. And where do you see RSS signs? Well, if you look at that, that's bbc.co.uk/news, and RSS is to the side. Now, some web browsers show it as RSS, others show it as the little red icon, the little orange icon, and that's from the Daily Record. And there, again, the Daily Record has got a good link to all of this. It tells you what you can use, how it works, why you might use it. Feel free to have a pause just to have a look at that. And when you hit unpause, we'll still be here waiting on you. And welcome back. And that kind of covers the basics of RSS. There's not a lot to it. It's just one of those things that seems more complicated than it really is. But the thing is about online, this is where some people can get fed up. They think, oh, I've made a tweet or I've done a blog. The whole world should love me now. Sadly, it doesn't work like that. This is a relationship and it's ongoing. The minimum amount of time I tell people to give social media is 6 months. If you can, give it a year. And, just see what works for you, see what doesn't. Ask the likes of myself, Alan Barr, Andrew Burnett, all these people are quite happy to offer some pointers to you, and it's a relationship. You just have to build on it, and that all good relationships take time. That's just an unfortunate truth, but it's very rewarding as well. And another reality of this is, unless you do something very, 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 publicity seeking, Lady Gaga will have more followers than you. Elton John will probably have more followers than you. Lots of people will have more followers than you. But think about it from this point of view. If you had 10 million people following you in the US of A, would any of them actually be any use for your business? Think about that. Sometimes it's alright to have 20 followers if those 20 followers will just buy everything you tell them to buy. It's a great way of thinking about it. People will also moan at you online. It's one of these things where it's easier to moan than to praise. That relationship's changing a bit, but still, people will come online and say, oh, your service was this, and you did that, or you didn't do this, and you told me this, and you didn't do that, and you just deal with it. It's a great way of quickly turning it around, going, oh, sorry you had an issue, here, let me fix it. And bang, and the whole world sees you fix it. And also accept that just as you might turn and go, I can't believe people are moaning at me, you don't control this. You don't control this any more than you control two people talking in a pub 5 miles from where you're sitting right now, talking about your service or product. But what this lets you do is, if you've used Google Alerts, like we spoke about earlier, it lets you see what they're saying. And if you can see what they're saying, you can respond. And if it's a positive comment, you can reinforce that positive comment. If it's a negative, you can turn it into a neutral. You can use it to your advantage. And also remember that while we're talking here about Facebook, Twitter and so on, these tools will all change. What won't change is hopefully this mindset of engaging with customers, because that door has been opened, that horse has well and truly bolted and it doesn't want to come back. Customers enjoy the engagement and lots of companies enjoy the engagement too. So the tools will change, but to an extent, the actual things that do, the things at the heart of it, the passion of it, the communication won't change. And as I've just said, just to bash this over the head a little bit, it is ongoing. No longer can you be Kevin Costner. You don't build it and expect them to come. You build it and then you go and tell them to come. And then you keep doing it. You just keep constantly at it. And, some closing tips. Have a website. If it's got a blog, tell people, have WordPress on there. Have your contact details on it. If on Facebook, let people know that you're on Facebook. But don't just put the logo, put facebook.com/FALKIRKBusiness or whatever the link actually is. And then there's Groupon, which we spoke about briefly. And we said, it's a great idea, but make it work for you. Think about it. Be considerate. Don't go offering a big offer that's going to bankrupt you, thinking people will just come back the next day for the full price offer. Or at best, or at worst, don't offer something to Groupon that makes you a loss. That's business insanity. Offer something to Groupon that you may break even on. Yes, that's okay, but never offer it at a loss. An example being Musa Aberdeen, which we previously spoke about. And what they did was they saw the Groupon offers, wanted to do a Groupon, and thought, no, hang on, we can't make it work. So they created a whole new menu, a whole new tapas menu, and they said, on this menu, to eat this menu will be £25. I can't remember the exact figures, but they said this menu is worth £25, and they went to Groupon and said, this menu is worth £25. We want to offer it through Groupon for £12. And Groupon said, love it. Thank you very much. And there was a bit of toing and froing. Groupon wanted a drink included. The guys at Musa said, no, if people want a drink, they can buy it. So already, Musa's making a bit of money there. But the way this works is, as I said, Groupon take half of whatever you offer. So in that case of the Musa restaurant, Musa was getting £6 and Groupon was getting £6. Musa, however, was then able to make some more money on people buying drinks or if they wanted desserts and so on, whereas Groupon got £6 each time and that was it. And the offer was a success. 800 people signed up for it. I mean, that's fantastic. And what happened was 75% of them used it. 25% didn't, which was a winner because that's people that have bought it but never actually come in and ate any food or anything. So that's, for the company and for Groupon, that's money in the bank for nothing. But the other people come in, order drinks and so on. Fantastic. Just the other day in Groupon, a company was offering a £50 meal for £15. Now that's going, and they were including a drink. So that £15 meal is going to be £7.50. And the last I checked, there had been 2,000 people accepting that offer. Now, if you're a restaurant and you're offering this high-profile meal at £7.50, either you were really inflating it to start with, or you're making a hell of a loss, and that company's probably going to make a hell of a loss, and that's a shame. So if you're thinking of getting involved with Groupon, it can be very good, but just think it through before you jump in there. Consider what might work for you, consider what might not. Hotel rooms are great things to give away if they're sitting there empty. Downtime on a golf course is another great thing. If you've got a restaurant or you're an accountancy firm, offer your service, but offer it out with your peak periods. Is there much call for accountants in June and July? No, then why not offer your services then? Don't offer your services when you can charge the most. For the tax accountancy time, sort of January, February, March, April. But just a bit of savvy